All right, we're live from Occupy City Hall. I do not know what day it is. I'm sure somebody will watch this and will leave it in the comments. So thank you to whoever that person is. It has been quite the past 36 hours here at the occupation at City Hall. Ari was arrested yesterday on an arrest warrant that was issued. I turned myself into custody at midnight on Juneteenth for an arrest warrant that was issued. I have some paperwork right here about that arrest warrant that was issued, and so I will speak about that momentarily here. Anybody just watching this, just let me know if the audio is all good. Let me know if the audio is all good. If it's not, just say something in the comments. I want to say this as well. We sit here in Rockford, Illinois, and all around the city is people celebrating Juneteenth and celebrating Black liberation and celebrating, more specifically, the federal government going into Galveston, Texas, and forcing the local government to end the slavery, the enslavement, the physical bondage that they were doing to their black residents. And I find it very disheartening how many black people in this community, especially, and I don't think this is most black people in the community. I want to make sure I'm specific about that. I believe the masses of black people in this community are not, quote unquote, celebrating today. I believe the masses of the black people in this community did not have work off today, or maybe if they don't work a 9-to-5 job, they did not have their hustle off today. They had to still hustle today. Black families who have family members who are incarcerated unjustly, they didn't have those family members freed for this day. Black people whose children are consistently miseducated, and those things didn't magically, disappear, for the day. And I find it very curious if at any of these, not at any of these, but specifically if at the city, what seems to be the city funded Juneteenth event that took place down in Mississippi, I wonder if they made mention of police terrorism and the effect that it has had on the black community in America and in Rockford, Illinois specifically. I wonder if they made mention of Tyrus Jones, or maybe they didn't make mention of the shooting of Tyrus Jones because maybe those are because some people feel that Tyrus Jones deserved to be shot, or they don't feel as if they have any remorse for Tyrus Jones being shot, which is not how I feel. I wonder if they made mention of Denzel Duvant being beat. I wonder if they made mention that the same officer who was okay. See, and this is why it's not okay. And this is why it's not as simple as just trying to say somebody deserved it or somebody's life led to this, or just siding with the police officer just because you don't want to do the mental work. Because that's really what it is when situations of where you have to actually dissect the root of problems and dissect something that is a deeply rooted issue. When these acts, these macroaggressions of police terrorism take place, when police officers shoot somebody, if you're really looking into it, really thinking about it, you have to go through so many layers. It's not just the easy, quick talk. It's not a simple talk. It's layered. And one of the layers is that when you okay a police officer shooting somebody that maybe you don't have empathy for, what you have to understand is now he's going to take that same mind state into more interactions, and every person he interacts with is not going to be somebody that you have is not going to be somebody that you don't have empathy for. You see, and so what happened was Dominic McNeese shot Tyrus Jones, and the divisive manners and methods were used to alienate the people trying to bring awareness to the shooting of Tyrus Jones from community members or from individuals in the community who may have, if they truly understood the depth of the situation, been more involved. But that's neither here nor there. What happened with Tyrus Jones and the situation with Tyrus Jones has passed. But then Denzel Duvant is beat by the Rockford Police Department, and it comes to find out that the officer who shot Tyrus Jones has some type of involvement in that situation. And so you see how okaying what happened to Tyrus Jones because you personally have an issue with Tyrus Jones' past, or you personally aren't empathetic towards Tyrus Jones individually. What that does is, again, Tyrus Jones is looked at as a black man. That is why he was shot. He was shot not because of who he individually is. He was shot because of the collective of people that he comes from, because of the community that he comes from. A white man would have found a way to bring a white man in one piece. With the same circumstances. There's been plenty of white men who's been accused of crimes and they were brought in one piece. But because he was black, they disregarded bringing him in one piece. But again, and that led to Denzel Duvant being beat and being assaulted. And then the lack of outcry and outpour from the community from that is what led to Faustin Guaitigo being killed. Even though separate branches of law enforcement, but because of the community's reaction, because of the temperature of the community, the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies see that Rockford Police Department are being okayed with shooting people, so they don't second guess shooting somebody. And then within 24 hours of Faustin Guaitigo being murdered by Winnebago County Sheriff deputies, Jose Gonzalez Jr. was shot while running away. That's two people within a 12-month period shot while running away in Rockford, Illinois. So I say that to say I wonder if that is being mentioned in these Juneteenth events that are going on, specifically in the city-funded Juneteenth that event is going on. I wonder if the names of Tyrus Jones, Denzel Duvant, and Faustin Guaitigo were mentioned, and Jose Gonzalez Jr. as well. But I'm bringing those three up specifically because of it being Juneteenth. So if you're going to share this video, anybody who watches the live from Occupied City Halls in Rockford, Illinois, understands that I routinely start these videos off by naming those four people. And Raymond, and I do this too often as well. I want to also make sure that we are highlighting the fact that too often in this city, police chases lead to people who are innocent bystanders being killed and cars being crashed. That this city has enough funds to find people later, to not turn the streets of Rockford, Illinois into the new Fast and Furious movie. And so we want to say justice for Raymond Jackson, who died in a car chase that took place in this city. The Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force is currently investigating that. We want to say justice for Faustin Guaitigo, who was murdered by Winnebago County Sheriff Deputy Joseph Brulard inside of his home. The investigation to that, the findings into that investigation will be coming out this week because the state's attorney has said that. The state's attorney office put out a press release 2 weeks ago saying that at the end of the month they would have a press conference releasing the findings of the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force shooting, looking into the investigation. I can't lie, he listening to Biggie Juicy. It's throwing me off. I love this song. I love Biggie Juicy. That's my fault. But by the end of the week, the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force will have released the findings of the shooting of Jose Gonzalez Jr. and of the murder of Faustin Guaitigo. So that is coming at some point towards the end of this week. So we want to say justice for Faustin Guaitigo, justice for Denzel Duvant, justice for Tyrus Jones, justice for Raymond Jackson, justice for Jose Gonzalez Jr. Okay, so now I want to, this is what this specific live is about. This right here is my paperwork that I was given after I was released from jail, Winnebago County Jail, around 2:30 this morning. My bond was $1,500 bond. And I would like to let you know what I and Ari were arrested for. We were arrested because on 2 Fridays ago, the memorials that we have it say their name square, the memorials of Mark Barmore, Jovan Fresco, Gino Washington, Logan Bell, Kerry Blake, Philip Johnson, Jasper Banks, Suzette Babler, Mike Sago, Mikey Guzman, Eddie Patterson, Shannon Graves, Joseph McCormick, Faustin Guaitigo. Those memorials that we have been putting up for these past 4 or 5 months, they came and they tore down the memorials. As they tore down the memorials, this is on video footage. We had megaphones. We ran sirens. No one was threatened. No one had any type of bodily harm done to them. And they also tore down the memorials times after that, with nothing happening to them, with everybody being left in one piece. However, and they have torn down the memorials now 9 times in this city. However, they have chosen to charge me and Ari with disorderly conduct from when we filmed them taking the memorials down 2 weeks ago. And they have given no contact orders to me and Ari. And if anybody knows these people, are friends with them on Facebook, feel free to tag them in this video. I have a no contact order with Jessica Schaefer, Amy Summerfield, Stephanie Peavy, Brandon Cruz, Kyle Saunders, and Melissa Mason. And those are the people who tear down the memorials regularly. Those are the people who work for the Racist Public Works Office. I want to go through those names one more time. Jessica Schaefer, Amy Summerfield, Stephanie Peavy, Brandon Cruz, Kyle Saunders, and Melissa Mason. Those are the white people who come out on a regular basis and tear down the memorials of the people who have been murdered inside the city of Rockford or in the county of Winnebago by police officers or by law enforcement, or died in the custody of the jail, and then Jovan Fresco was murdered by the Rent-A-Cop Metro enforcement agents. And so these memorials, I want to say this as well, these memorials, they have now started charging us $750 a day per memorial that is put up. That is what this city is doing. That is the city. So when I say things like, is it Juneteenth or is it Coonteenth, it's because they're having an event that's supposed to be celebrating black liberation. That's supposed to be reminding people of the federal government coming in and forcing the local government to stop enslaving its black citizens. And while doing that, they are having it be sponsored and taking money from a government that is in the process of oppressing black people, a government that is in the process of charging close to $250,000 for the memorials that are on these light poles. That is not an exaggeration. These are not numbers that I'm making up. We have paperwork that states all these things. So on top of charging $750 a day per memorial that is put up towards different people, I want that to be understood too. Multiple people are being charged for the same memorial, that being up multiple days. And then on top of doing that, so when I say, is it Juneteenth or is it Coonteenth? When I say, is it Juneteenth or is it Coonteenth, it's under the pretext and under the understanding that these white people are not hiding their racism. They're not hiding their bigotry. They're not hiding their exploitation or oppression. They're openly doing it. So then when black people openly get in bed with those people, you have to ask yourself, what type of black people are those? When they have an event celebrating something, you have to ask yourself, what is the integrity of that event? And so again, on top of the charging of $750 a day per memorial for multiple people, which is at this point totaling up to close to $250,000, they have now charged people with crimes. They have charged people with crimes for filming these racist white people destroying these memorials. They are doing everything in their power to make sure that not only can they not be filmed while doing these cowardly acts, because we are getting to a point where they do understand. I've told this to multiple people. I think maybe the 8th time they tore down the memorials, a soccer mom, looked like she was a soccer mom, white woman in a car, a white woman in a car with her child drove by as they was tearing the memorials down, and as I was filming it, and she said to me, "What are they doing? Are they tearing those down?" And I said, "Yep, they're tearing them down." And she said, "Shame, shame on you, shame on you," she said to them. And I looked in that white woman's eyes, and that's the first time that that white woman who done went around tearing down these memorials showed any sign of humanity. When a white woman, someone who looked like could be her sister or her cousin, said the same things to her about what she was doing that black and brown people have been saying to her, or people that were not white, non-white people have been saying to her, or people not connected with the protests have been saying to her. And so that is why we were arrested. We were arrested so that way they could put no contact orders out on us and all of these people, with the understanding that now if any of us film them while they're doing this, that will be a violation of the conditions of release, and then they can use that to try to raise the bail again, to raise the bond again, to have us rearrested. As it stands today, at my last court date on Thursday, the judge said to me, and the judge probably already knew that it was a war. What up? What's good? Chilling. Be safe. The judge probably already knew it was a warrant out, or they was getting ready to put a warrant out. That's how all these things work. And so he said to me, the next time I was in court, if I had been arrested or had any violations, that I would be remanded and my bail would be raised. And so this bail for this right here was $1,500 for me to get released here. So that means that the bail will at least be raised past the $1,500 for this. And then now I have 8 charges. And so for each one of those charges, whatever my initial bail was to be released will be increased. And so, again, as these people are doing these things, they are not doing these things without the understanding of the full consequences in which come with them. These white people whose names are on this paper, these white people are actively working to have people imprisoned and in jail for extended periods of time for exercising their freedom of speech, because we aren't in a place where these trials are coming speedily. We're at a point right now where nobody who was arrested for protesting last year has stood trial yet, because Jay Hanley and his coward administration know they can't prove these things to a 12-people jury. They have torn down the memorials here 9 times at least, on film, 9 times at least. And each time that they've done it, we followed them around and we spoken to them. They're public officials. We have the right to do that. The megaphone and the siren, that same megaphone and siren was used at City Market yesterday. It's been used at multiple protests. Nobody's been arrested for it. So then somebody's going to have to point out how when the memorials were torn down the other 8 times and we followed them around and said things to them, that wasn't disorderly conduct. How when the megaphones have been used in all of these other places, them times it wasn't disorderly conduct. But somehow now this time having the megaphones and talking to them while they tear down the memorials has now raised to the extent of disorderly conduct. And each one of these racist white people will be subpoenaed and will have to sit up there and make those statements publicly. And these names, I will make a post putting all of these names out. Let me go over them again. Jessica Schaefer, Amy Summerfeld, Stephanie Peavy, Brandon Cruz, Kyle Saunders, we know him well, and Melissa Mason. Again, these are all white people who are getting paid by the city government to destroy memorials of black and brown people. It is 16 memorials up. Of those 16 memorials, 14 of them, all but 2 of them, are black or brown people. And it is not a single black person who destroys the memorials or brown person who destroys the memorials. They are all white people. For sure. And so again, these for people who may not know, we put these memorials up on December 30th, on the anniversary of the murder of Carrie Blake, on the 2-year anniversary of the murder of Carrie Blake, and we gave a tour of the area. We've entitled the area "Say Their Name Square," and The initially when we put the memorials up on December 30th, they stayed from December 30th to I believe January 8th, January 7th to January 8th, somewhere around then. And then the city tore the memorials down, destroyed the memorials, ripped them up, threw them in trash bags. There were stuffed animals and candles. We would leave more things. We used to leave more things at the memorials, but because of the racist Jessica Schaefer, because of the racist Amy Summerfeld, the racist Stephanie Peavy, the racist Brandon Cruz, the racist Kyle Saunders, and the racist Melissa Mason, we had to stop leaving things down there because they continued to steal them and throw them away. Then the police as well would come out. The current interim chief of police, Randy Burke, called these memorials of black people, of 14 black and brown people, these memorials of a majority of black people, called them trash. Called them trash. He said, get the rest of this trash. And his police officers commenced to going and tearing down the memorials and throwing them in trash bags. And again, don't just take my word for it. We have all of these things filmed and documented. You can find them on the videos on our Facebook page. You can find them on the videos on our YouTube page. And that is the type of city government that Rockford is. And that's who you put at the bottom of the Juneteenth event. And that's who is sponsoring the Juneteenth event. I want anybody who goes to that Juneteenth event or who went to that Juneteenth event, I hope you ask those people what it is that they're going to do the next time somebody is murdered in the streets that is black in this city. The vendors and the people that's making money and selling things and independent things, and it's all black liberation today. I'm specifically talking about this city funded event. I don't want people to think that I'm on here downplaying black people for enjoying or interacting or doing nothing on Juneteenth. That's not what I'm saying. I'm speaking to a very specific event, that is connected with racist white people who have not only just been covertly racist, because that is what is really happening, is that this city's been so well to being covertly racist. And the Uncle Toms had even convinced themselves they wasn't Uncle Toms and that these white people really wasn't racist. They had perfected covert racism here in Rockford. And in the last 12 to 13 months, the activists and protesters and demonstrators and different organizations have forced that covert racism to become overt. Because you will never be able to beat covert racism. Never. And see, in southern states, they was overtly racist. And then when people would come, when Dr. King or SNCC or CORE would come to try to let the world see that overt racism, the ones that was intellectual, they would then make it covert. They then would be coverted racist. They then would, even as we're reading through this book, which I'll start through again, that one of the tactics that Dr. King spoke about happening in Albany is that the police sheriff there, he reined in the officers. He reined in the violence. He reined in the racism. You see, because of the savviness of their type of racism. But see, we live in a city in which, especially this happened in the North, in which they were not savvy with their racism. They just were covert with it. See, Rockford is not savvy with this racism. It's just covert. So once we came and we started to force the issue, to press the issue with these things, their tactic, because they were using covert racism before, became overt racism. This right here is overt racism. Being arrested for filming people tearing down memorials and talking in the megaphone, it being all white people tearing down the memorials, it being a majority of black memorials. This is racist. They don't want to be filmed doing it. In a southern state, they don't get no damn about you filming them tearing it down. They haven't built it on their city isn't built on an image of covert racism. But this city is built on an image of covert racism. That's why the schools are named after the two of America's most Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson are two people who were overtly racist, but America has covertly given them cover through the years and through time. And so that's why we have a school named after those two people specifically. I mean, it encapsulates the type of city that we have. It's why we have a Democratic mayor who won't say the names of the black and brown people who were killed, who have been shot or assaulted by the police in his city. But he'll put his name at the bottom of the Juneteenth event. He'll take pictures with a black celebrity from the city or a black athlete from the city. He'll take pictures with he'll campaign for black aldermen. He'll try to handpick black aldermen. But true black liberation, fighting true black oppression, which the number one perpetrator of black oppression in America is the police department. And anybody who says anything different does not understand does not understand what the police departments are used for and the policies and the tactics that police departments have. And if you want to say the legal system altogether, that's fine as well. But that is the number one thing. It is not intercommunity violence. It's not intercommunity violence. And so again, for people who may have been wondering what we were arrested for filming racist white people tear down memorials and for using megaphones protesting against them tearing down those memorials. Not for no buildings burning down, or no Molotov cocktails, or nobody's cars being destroyed, or nobody's businesses being looted. And that's important because they are going through all this effort to criminalize and stigmatize not just the May 30th Alliance, but the activists within the May 30th Alliance, because they truly fear the power that they know not only that we currently wield, but that we will wield in the future. Because you see, if we had been burning buildings down or destroying cars or destroying businesses, what would happen is we would be more divisive. It'd be harder for people to agree with. Different people would have their, be more of a polarizing. The actions would be more polarizing. But as it stands, no one with any common sense believes someone should go to jail for filming and protesting memorials being torn down. No one with any, and even racists and bigots, because this is the thing, 12 people are going to be on the jury. All 12 of them aren't going to be the racists and bigots. All 12 of them won't. Maybe 2 or 3 of them will. All 12 of them won't. Okay, and so with that, with that same mind state, nobody's going to convict people for writing in chalk on in the near city market. Because that's what the criminal trespass really pertains to, is people writing in chalk. What made it criminal for us to be in that area, is what they're going to say, is protesting in that area or writing in chalk as a method of protesting in that area. Where are the 12 jurors? They're going to have to go down to Mississippi to get them 12 jurors. Because remember, covert. This is a city, even a county of covert racism. Jay Hanley Jay Hanley would not come out openly and say that he's racist. But he is a racist. He engages in racist policies and racist tactics. I can guarantee you his intimate conversations with people who won't repeat them things, who are white, are racist. Because part of those conversations have to be doing things like this, putting out $1,500 arrest warrants on a black man for filming racist white people tearing down memorials of black people. And see, this is the other problem that Jay Hanley's going to have, that Tom McNamara is going to have, Dan O'Shea, Carla Red, Theo Glover, all of these, Kyle Saunders, Todd Cagnoni, Jessica Schaefer, Amy Summerfeld, Stephanie Peavy, Brandon Cruz, Melissa Mason. This is the problem that all of these people are going to have, is that history will remember these things. And there are no burnt buildings. There's no one who can come out and say, oh, my life savings was all destroyed, I lost everything. It's none of that. There's no victim. There's no person to say, oh, I was beat and I was stabbed and I was shot. There's none of that. So when history records these things, what will be recorded is that the racist state's attorney, Jay Hanley, tried to have people in jail for protesting against police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice by using tactics such as walking on a crosswalk, by using tactics such as sitting in front of City Hall, not inside City Hall, in front of City Hall, not blocking the entrance, using tactics such as writing in chalk at near City Market, not inside the pavilion of City Market, but up the street on the public sidewalk near City Market. And again, what type of conversation are you going to have, or dialogue or monologue can you have to justify those type of actions? With no burnt buildings, with no victims, with no life savings down the drain. See, and this is how you know that we're dealing with racists and bigots. Racists and bigots who don't value people's lives equally, who don't value black lives the same way they value white lives, because these people are perfectly fine with someone being sentenced to jail for protesting, with someone being sentenced to jail for filming memorials being put up. And so I actually wonder why, when I say, where are the black elders at while things like this are happening? Where are the black leaders at while things like this are happening? And I ask the question a lot of times tongue in cheek, because a lot of times they're in pictures with the people who are perpetrating these things. They're inside having meetings and coffee with the people who are perpetrating these things. And that's because of the complacency of too many generations prior. See, and that's really what they're trying to do, is they're trying to beat us into complacency. They're trying to beat us into submission. And you see, that is a tactic that will work for people who will submit, for people who will tap out, for people whose courage is not at the same length of their convictions, or don't have the courage of their convictions, however have you. But see, the problem is, when you give adversity to people who have the courage of their convictions, who have the determination, who won't tap out, who won't surrender, all you do is build strength, is give them strength. You see, because there is two ways that institutionalization works. There is two ways where institutionalization works, as far as, getting conditioned to jail. And one of the ways of being conditioned to jail is that you keep getting arrested for, maybe getting arrested for drugs or for guns or whatever, and you keep getting arrested, and you get to a point where you're not even worried about going to jail no more. You done been to jail before. It ain't a big deal. You gonna keep doing what you're doing. You in the streets. And so that's a certain institutionalization and conditioning where, when you go to jail for it, you go to jail for it. It is what it is. You do the crime, you're willing to do the time. It's part of the game, right? That's a type of institutionalization of conditioning. Another form, which is similar to this, another form of that is when you know that you are unjustly being arrested, and and initially the fear or the worry of being arrested and being in jail, it can be used against you to prevent you from doing certain things, to prevent you from saying certain things, to prevent you from having that courage of your convictions. But what happens is that only works until they jail you. And then once they jail you, you find out whether or not you can take this for what it is that you standing for, right? And then they jail you again, and they jail you again, and they jail you again. And eventually what happens is, just like with alcohol or with drugs, you build a tolerance. You build a tolerance. And when you know you are in the right, because I have not sat a day in jail in which I have been convicted of something, in which a jury of 12 people have been given evidence and listened to witnesses about and listened to statements and seen videos about what happened, and said that they all collectively agree I deserve to be in jail. I have not sat a single minute in jail because of that. I have only sat in jail because of white people whose privilege has been disturbed. White people whose reality has been shaken. That's who has put me in jail, who has have me sat in jail. Not white people who have been harmed or victimized or lost money or lost life savings or had things burnt down. None of those things. Or even been harassed. These people have not been harassed. These people are public officials. This is part of being a public official. We are not the first people to do these things, to pull this play out. Imagine in Chicago, the people who work in City Hall throwing a fit because people filming them tearing down memorials or washing away chalk, with the type of issues that's going on there, or the type of issues that's going on in a city which has dealt with actual political upheaval. See, that's the problem here. That is why these things are happening here, is because the city has never dealt with any type of political upheaval, any type of political challenging, any type of status quo challenging. And so since we are challenging the status quo, you are watching as people are, their uncomfortability is being shown. And the way that they want to cope with their uncomfortability is by removing the thing that is making them uncomfortable, not by dealing with the root issues, not by dealing with the reason people are out there making them uncomfortable. Because they believe that if they just get rid of one or two people, eventually it'll go away. But what did happen, again, what is happening, and what I hope, because I know they watch all these things, I know they see all these things, do I want to go to jail? No. Do I like the idea of being in jail? No, I hate it. It's horrible. I don't like it. Am I willing to sit in jail if it means that every hour in that jail gets us an hour close to having justice for this community? Yes, I'm okay with that. If my role last year was to walk on the crosswalk, or my role during the fall was to give speeches at press conferences, if my role during the spring and the summer of this year is to sit in jail, then that is what my role is. And see, only the fear of being in that jail, only being intimidated of being in that jail, can make them putting me in jail successful for them. But the moment that fear is removed, the moment that intimidation is removed, then that becomes a tactic that is working for us, not for them. Because every hour that I sit in jail is an hour that people understand how racist the state's attorney who is in office is, how bigoted the state's attorney that is in this office is. It lets people understand how inhumane the system that is being the criminal justice system in this city is. Every hour that I sit in there, or every hour that we or whoever was sitting there, is an hour in which more people learn more information about these things, learn more about these things. I tell you this, it's not a single time in which I have been arrested or I have went to jail in which when I came out of jail, it wasn't people inboxing or friend requests or messages. And again, that's not to say that going to jail is something that I enjoy, or something that I like, or something that I think is a plus. However, when you are in a war, and that's what this is a war. There are different battles inside the war, and you have to find ways to win battles. And if their way of trying to win battles is arresting me, or putting me in jail, or having me sit in jail, then I have to find a way to win within that jail cell. To be winning while behind bars, or winning while handcuffed, or winning while arrested. And part of that is doing things like this, because we live in a time in which I can put this video out and speak about these things now. And while I'm sitting in jail, whenever the next time I'm in jail is, it'll be somebody coming and watching this video that never seen or watched none of the videos before. And they're watching it now because they seen that I was in jail and they want to know what's going on. I want to go through these names one more time. Again, I just had a arrest warrant put out for me, $1,500 arrest warrant put out for me yesterday. I went into custody on Juneteenth. I was arrested. I had an arrest warrant put out on me for filming the racist white employees of City Hall destroying the memorials of people who were victims of police terrorism, mass incarceration, or racial injustice in the city of Rockford, Illinois, and in the Winnebago County area. So these are the people who press charges on me for filming them tearing down memorials and for protesting them tearing down those memorials. Jessica Schaefer, Amy Summerfeld, Stephanie Peavy, Brandon Cruz, Kyle Saunders, and Melissa Mason. Those are the racist white people who have at least 10 times destroyed the memorials that have been put on Say Their Name Square. I want people to understand this too. Not only have these people had me and Ari arrested for protesting them tearing down the memorials and filming them tearing down the memorials, which they've done 10 times. This city is also charging $750 because they're issuing citations. So the city of Rockford government is issuing citations for putting up these memorials. The memorials consist of a picture and a name, name, and date. Okay, takes up the light pole is about, let's say 100% of the light pole is free. It takes up about 5 to 8.5% of the light pole. They're charging us $750 a day per memorial. So that's, hold on, do I got my phone? Where the phone? I got my phone. Let's see. 825. Let's see. Where the calculator at on my phone? All right, calculator. Okay, so they're charging $750 a day. $750 a day per memorial. Okay, so it's 16 memorials. So that's times 16. So that's $12,000 a day for the memorials to be up. That's what they charging, essentially. $12,000 a day for the memorials to be up, and they're pressing charges for the memorials to be up. They're charging money for the memorials to be put up, and they pressing charges for filming them tearing down the memorials. And again, one of these times when this happened, it was, I think, 11 memorials. It was 11 memorials. They was charged $700. They were charged $750 a day. It was $8,250, but it was like 6 days, right? So it was like $49,000 on one of them. But that's multiple people though. That's 2 different people. So 2 different people had that. So really, they was charging about $99,000 for the memorials. That's how much money it costs to put up a picture for a week, basically. That's how much it costs for a picture of Faustin Guaitigo to go up, or a picture of Eddie Patterson to go up, or a picture of Mikey Guzman to go up. And so I want to thank everybody who has consistently supported us. I want to thank everybody who has consistently helped with donating bail money. I want to thank everybody who has consistently shared messages and consistently donated and done whatever it is that they can do to wage the revolution in the level in which they exist. And so again, I'm gonna wrap this up. I haven't done a live from the May 30th Alliance page in a few days. I have been doing quite a few from my own personal page because I was speaking a lot about the Juneteenth or Cooneteenth event. Again, I don't know which one it is. I want people to understand that there was a question. It's a genuine question. Is it Juneteenth or is it Cooneteenth? Because I just laid out some of the things that the city of Rockford government is doing when it comes to black people and black lives. So I don't understand how they can be part of any type of event celebrating black liberation. I want to end this the way that I've been trying to end all of them. And that's by saying, I've been saying justice. I don't know if I want to do justice or rest in power. We do the justice at the beginning, we do the rest in power at the end. Maybe that's how I do it. I want to say rest in power to Mark Barmore, rest in power to Demetrius Bennett, rest in power to Jovan Fresco, rest in power to Geno Washington, rest in power to Logan Bell, rest in power to Kerry Blake, rest in power to Philip Johnson, rest in power to Jasper Banks, rest in power to Suzette Babler, rest in power to Shannon Graves, rest in power to Faustin Guaitigo, rest in power to Lil Mike Sago, rest in power to Joseph McCormick, rest in power to Mikey Guzman, rest in power to Eddie Patterson. It's been quite the week. It's been quite the week out here at Occupy City Hall, and I believe we are in for quite the week coming up ahead of us. If I'm a betting man, I would say that they release those findings on whichever day they remand me back into custody. But we'll see how it goes. All right, we outside.